Hello everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be of epic length most likely, so grab a cuppa of something and hang out with me for a bit because I'm going to share with you my entire deck collection. Now, depending on how this goes, this video may end up being in multiple parts. I'm going to start with just tarot decks. That's all I'm filming today. I will do oracle decks on another day because, oh boy, there is a lot to share with you. So with that being said, I'm going to dive right in no particular order, because if I tried to order this, it was going to take a million hours to prep for, and I wasn't going to do that to myself. So if you haven't already got something to drink or snack on, pause this video, go get something for yourself, and then come back and hang out for a flip through of basically all of my decks. So first things first, I'd like to talk about my Rider-Waite clones. These are decks that I feel like are basically all kind of the same, but with a slightly varying theme. So I am going to start with my Centennial Tarot. So this is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck in the Centennial Edition. I have this in a full size thanks to a generous subscriber who traded me for a Peggy bag when I first started my channel, right near the very beginning. Why are you upside down, people? Why are several of these upside down? I don't read reversals, so that's kind of weird. I'll fix that later. That's going to make me really twitchy. But anyways, I probably dropped this deck or something and had to pick it up. That's usually why that happens. So I have this in a full size. I love this. This is a fantastic reference deck and study deck. To be honest, I've never done readings with this, and I probably am not going to ever, because I like it for reference. So I'm glad I have it, but it's not one I necessarily rotate into. I also have it in a tarot in a tin version, and have recently realized that I am kind of excited to have this in this version because I'm going to be going to a tarot conference in March of 2019, the Northwest Tarot Symposium, and having a little mini classic deck like this in a tin I think is going to be super handy for the workshops. So I will definitely be bringing this deck with me. It's exactly the same as the other deck, but in this cute little tin, and I love it. The only other really classic Rider-Waite, like originally kind of deck that I would like to own is the Dirty Pam, as we affectionately call it. It's coming out in 2019 as the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot by Lo Scarabeo. I'd like to pick that up. It's borderless and has just a really cool dramatic coloring to it. But these little tarot in a tins are super handy. This is the only one I have right now. I'm kind of waiting for another one to come out that I'm really excited about, but that is those. I'm going to just create a pile of decks next to me and then have to clean them up. None of you will be surprised that this is my very favorite ever tarot deck, but also specifically my favorite Rider-Waite-Smith clone. This is the Mons Tarot by Joanna Nelson, the Little Monster Tarot, it says in subtext here. I found out about this deck, I think, first from Katie Flowers. I have a little crystal that lives with this deck. This is definitely my soul deck. Nobody is surprised to see it. This is a Atlantisite crystal, which is just perfect for this deck, so it lives with it. This deck is always out on my, oops, I bumped the camera. I don't know why I'm shuffling. Why am I shuffling? This deck is so cute. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, kind of actually. I just realized it's not really a Rider-Waite-Smith clone in the sense that the images are different than Rider-Waite-Smith. It's not just Rider-Waite-Smith cutified. It does have its own take on all of the images, so it really technically doesn't belong in this category, but I would reach for this in a heartbeat to do readings way before I would reach for any of my other clone-ish kind of Rider-Waite-Smith decks. It reads very clean and clear for me. It transports me to a whole nother world where I just feel, I just realized if I talk this much about all these decks, we're going to be here for 8 million hours. I'm going to try not to do that. Anyways, you guys have heard me ramble about this deck before. I love it. I love the imagery. Currently it's out of print, and it is an independent deck, but Joanna, I believe, plans to reprint it in 2019 in a second edition. I will definitely be scooping that up if she does. And yeah, Peggy sewed and embroidered me this amazing bag. This is all embroidered. She redid the logo painstakingly for me so that I could have a special bag for this deck. Love, 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 love. This one is what I would call like a true Rider-Waite-Smith clone. This is the Crystal Unicorn Tarot. This is a sweet, adorable, lovely deck. Sadly, somewhat neglected because I love the Mons Tarot so much and I'd reach for that first. But I get excited every time I have an opportunity to work with this deck, so I truly love having it in my collection. I am a hardcore unicorn lover, so this is probably, I mean, if there was going to be a Rider-Waite-Smith clone that I was going to love, this was going to be it. Basically, it's exactly the same as the Rider-Waite-Smith, but redrawn with unicorns as the main characters in every card and in this really lovely color palette. The cardstock is amazing. The backs are beautiful. This was an independent deck by Pamela Chen and illustrated by Lisa Higuchi. Love, love this deck. I'm pretty sure you can still get your hands on it at the time I'm filming this on either through an Etsy page or through her Indiegogo, I believe. Really nice sturdy box. Love it. Have an adorable unicorn themed bag that it lives in. Happy, happy, happy. Love this deck. There's nothing in this whole collection that I don't love, because if I don't love it, I don't hold on to it. But this one is I just said that in like at the worst possible time, because this deck I loved until I had my Mons Tarot, and now I'm kind of, I like it, but I'm suddenly not as excited about it anymore, because the Mons Tarot is for me what this deck was for me, if that makes any sense. So I may actually rehome this sooner than later so that it goes to somebody who will really love and appreciate it. This is the adorable Tarot of a Magical Forest. Those of you who watch Kelly Bear's channel will have seen these images everywhere. This is a sweet deck full of personality, and it's totally a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. In place of the humans, we have adorable, kind of creepy, cute animals. Love this hermit. It is so freaking cute. I love this. But it's not as cute as my Mons Tarot, and I'm super partial. And because I'm partial, this deck has kind of been sidelined. And I did trim all of the borders off of this deck, and I edged it in all these various shades of green, so it's got this really cool variegated look to it. I did that because that's what Kelly had done to hers, and I thought, or to Simon's maybe actually, and I just loved the way that it looked. But yeah, this is really cute. It's probably going in my to be rehomed pile. Everything else though, I swear I love. That was the one, that was a weird one because I loved it so hard until I discovered that until I had my own copy of Mons Tarot, and then it got kind of pushed to the side. So that is it for basically Rider-Waite-Smith clones. The next category are what I would consider really, really straightforward Pip/Marseille decks. The first one is the Marshmallow Marseille. This one is by Wandering Oracle. This is so cute. What I like the most about it, to be honest, are the holographic backs. They're really pretty and sparkly, and I have to credit Christy, because she ended up buying one of Peggy's holographic bags for this deck, and as soon as she did that, I went to Peggy's stash and stole another one for me, because I thought that was such a brilliant idea, because hello, hollow loveliness. She doesn't have any more of this fabric, sadly, but we might be able to get more, I don't know. Anyways, this is not an exciting cardstock. It's like thin and flexible. It feels kind of like playing cards, which makes it a good cardstock and a sturdy cardstock, but not that like luxurious feeling cardstock. Just so we're clear that it's excellent stock, but not maybe what you're expecting when people say excellent stock. It's Marseille. It's got a really pretty color palette and this kind of funny coloring outside the lines, watercolory look to it, which, to be honest, isn't my favorite art ever in the whole world. But I love that it's kind of simple, it's sweet, the colors are a little nicer to look at than a classic Marseille for me, and yeah, it does its job. Yeah. Cute. And I love the size. If I wanted a portable Marseille, this is the one that I would grab for sure. My only sadness is that it doesn't come in a tin. There's another portable Marseille deck that I considered, but I'm not ready to acquire any more right now, and that is the Tarot de Maria Celia, which does come in a tin and is a Marseille style. I actually think I like the artwork on that slightly better, but I'm super glad that I picked this one up, and I do enjoy having it in my collection. Next I have my basic, inexpensive Conver reproduction tarot. This was what it said on the box, Tarot de Marseille Arcana. It's like a photocopy quality book. It's not, I've never even looked at the book, to be honest. It's staple bound. It's not exciting. The deck itself is fine. The titles are in English where there are titles. It's very clear and the coloring is the same as a classic Conver. This is great for just having a classic Marseille with all the right directionality and all that stuff, and in a full size. Currently, this is the only full-size Marseille that I have. The majors even are in English. And I'm fine with this. This is really, at this point, I don't feel called to get a whole bunch of Marseille decks. I've really reined myself in because while I enjoyed learning numerology and learning the Marseille, I like all the pretty pictures on Rider-Waite-Smith style decks. So, and I miss that when I don't have it. So yeah, I will be rotating into using this over time. That's what the backings look like, so that I get more comfortable with it throughout the year this year. But yeah, not really worried about getting any more. And my most exciting numerological deck is this one. This is the Arcana Tarot playing cards. It didn't come with this plastic box, that was mine. This is the Arcana Black version, and this came back into print. I had seen Kelly Fitzgerald talk about these before. They are classic playing card style cards. I think the whole deck is upside down, yeah. They're playing card style cards, but they do have their suits pictured in a small symbol in the corner so that I know that spades is swords, cups for hearts. And they do have I think it's a jack. Oh, a page, knight, queen, king. So they've got the same structure as a tarot through the quartz. And then they do have a full set of majors, and the majors are just beautiful. This is what the backs look like. Those are also gorgeous. I love these. Love them so much. So I think that it might be incredibly possible that at some point this is the only pip deck I have, but I'm not going to guarantee that right now. I still need to have a time where I work with this for a whole week and then decide. But numerologically, this is the deck that I get kind of excited about right now. It came with some extra cards. It came with some jokers, a second version of Death that is double-sided, which is really interesting, and a title card. This is by the Dead on Paper company, and on their website I believe you can still order this. This box is pretty, hey, but it's very thin. So I keep them in here, and then I put them in this little plastic case just to protect them from like dings and things like that. It's a perfect fit, and it lives inside this really cute playing card bag that Peggy made me, as she makes all of my bags. So that's it for pips. Let's get into everything else. So I think what I'm going to do is at about 20 minutes, I'm going to stop and move on to another part, and we'll see how many parts this is. We'll see. I might go a little further. I might go to 30 minutes. So I have the Brady Tarot. This was one of my top 5 decks for 2019. I love this deck. The guidebook is written by Rachel Pollack, I believe. Yeah, Rachel Pollack wrote the guidebook. The guidebook is so good. The artist for the cards is Emmy Brady. These were all done as wood lino cuts, I believe it's called. It is antique gold gilded. These are the backs. This has that sort of rose petal, rubbery almost feeling matte finish that is heaven to touch. I love the feel of these cards. I love the cardstock is really, really nice. I adore the artwork. I find that this is a very balanced, nature-based deck. I don't know why I'm holding it that way. I find it really easy to read. I love the keywords. Me and this deck get along so good, and it was really when I got this deck after I had worked with it for a week that I was like, yeah, I don't need the Wild Unknown. And no offense to the Wild Unknown. It's just that this is so much more my style and has so much more color and imagery for me to work with. I also think that the guidebook is done really well so that you feel like you're learning something, at least I do, with every card. I mean, you learn about what you're seeing in the scene. It's almost, I call this kind of like my National Geographic nature deck. It feels very raw and very real. It isn't sugar-coated at all. It's a really powerful deck to work with, and I love having it. I am very lucky to have a version in the wooden box. I was not a Kickstarter backer, but there was some of these available right after the Kickstarter decks shipped. Sadly, I got mine before some of the backers did, and I think creators need to make some of us who buy after the fact wait a little longer so that it doesn't make people feel funky who have been waiting the whole time, but I'm still really glad that I have it, so no regrets. Next are my Ciro Marchetti decks. So I guess I did a little sorting, but only a tiny bit. So I had originally the Gilded Tarot. I don't have that any longer. I did pass it along to my sister. This is the Legacy of the Divine, and I actually fell in love with this deck because I had an app for my phone that I used for years that used these images, and then I saw the actual deck at one point and just had to pick it up. I actually love this. I do think that for most of the imagery, this one is my favorite. I do find that sometimes the cards feel a little small. I don't mind the borders. I love this 10 of Cups. With the dog and the kitty, it's so perfect. Not a fan of a lot of Ciro Marchetti. I think it's actually Ciro Marchetti. I think I've been saying it wrong. if you know, or if you have an Italian background, or if you know you're Chiro yourself, please feel free to correct me below. But I do really, really love this deck. It's beautiful. I find that Chiro's decks feel, to me anyway, to be a bit more masculine. And so I really enjoy taking these out when I'm going to be reading for strangers in public, because I think I've never had a problem with male clients connecting with this deck. And I think that if I've had, I don't know that I've had any male clients at my Etsy shop yet. Oh, I did have one, but I wasn't called to use this deck for that client. Anyway, long story short, I love this, and I'm so glad to have it. It's a really great classic deck, and it was the first sort of Rider-Waite-Smith, Smithy feeling deck that didn't have really creative images that I really felt like I connected to. So, good stuff. This one was a Christmas gift. I love the size of these cards. I also edged this deck in black. This is the Tarot of Dreams by Chiro. And, oh, there's also this Kabbalah card on the back. There's several things that I prefer about these cards. Number one, they're larger. Number two, they have this really clear, easy to read font and really clear symbology for astrological, and there's also, yeah, here, like the letters from the, I want to say, I totally spaced. I know what I'm trying to say, and I lost my words. But anyway, this deck would be one I would immediately recommend for a beginner, partly because the imagery is so bold and beautiful, and because the symbols are so easy to see. And this follows traditional Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. I think it gets its point across really, really well. I don't love the pages in this, but again, Chiro's quartz are not my favorite typically. A lot of these cards, though most of them, are just stunning. And again, it still feels very masculine in some way. I don't like this death card. Not my favorite. Love this strength. So yeah, there's a lot to love. The other thing that's different about this deck is that it has palace cards, which are the environment of the suit. So if they come up in a reading, they can be, like if you were to get the environment of cups, then that's a very emotional environment. Or sorry, the Palace of Cups, that would be a very emotional environment. Yeah, here we go. Here's a palace. So here's what the Palace of Wands looks like. And that would be obviously a very fire. Anything you associate with the suit or the element would be related to the environment for the querent or for yourself. So yeah, I think that's really cool. I love the mechanic of the palaces, so I enjoy having a deck that has those. Love the backs. Holy cow, they're so pretty. Yeah, I love this deck. I love it, but I think I do still have a slight favoring towards my Legacy of the Divine. I don't know though, they're so different. Anyway, I love his art. Moving along. Let me grab, actually. Let me grab my two Will Worthington decks. So I have the Wildwood Tarot. I have trimmed this deck, and a bottom bit of the border does show because I trimmed it so that the titles were still on. I edged this deck in green. I have a really lovely matching bag for it. I'm going to be studying this deck in 2019, but I do really enjoy this artwork. It's very earthy. I struggle with the court cards because they are animals, and I think that it will make a lot more sense once I've studied it. Also, out of the box, this deck had a bit of a bow to it, which I think is starting to resolve somewhat, but it's still kind of got it. If you look at it top down, you can see it's kind of twisted. You can see this bottom tip sticks out. And that's always kind of bugged me. I should have, in hindsight, contacted the publisher and gotten a replacement copy. That's my only beef with it. The cardstock is fine. It's like nice. It's not too thin. It's like the new, I think, Llewellyn's cardstock, or I don't know. I don't keep up with these things. But I'm looking forward to studying this deck and getting to know it better because I do really, really love the artwork. My other Will Worthington deck, which was a newer acquisition near the end of 2018, is the Druidcraft Tarot. And apologies that I don't remember the authors because I don't have the guidebooks handy. I remember the artist, but I loved the heck out of working with this deck. Now this one also has a bit of a masculine feel to me. I love the Druidic and Wiccan elements that sort of thread through this deck. And even though I don't identify directly with either path at this stage in my practice, I love the earthiness of it. It feels very grounded and evocative. I had a blast working with this. It read great for clients. It felt very neutral, but very naturey. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did trim this down and used a large corner rounder. It did have quite big borders, so it had this thin stone-like border along it, and then a bigger border that went all the way around. These cards were huge before. They're now perfect. I love this deck. No complaints. These are the backs and what they look like after being trimmed. Love it. Of the two decks, currently this is my favorite. This leans much more classic Rider-Waite. They haven't messed with the order of the major arcana, whereas they did in the Wildwood. Things are a little funky and different. So this was easy to just pick up and read with, and I love it. And if I didn't say it was the Druidcraft, I'm pretty sure I said. Anyway. This deck was so much fun to work with around Halloween time. This is the Zombie Tarot. Not my style of artwork at all. I still need to edge the sides in black. I haven't done that yet. Good cardstock. It feels a little cardboardy. The only way I know how to describe it is like cereal boxy. I don't know. It's nice and I think it'll hold up well, but it does chip a bit around the corners and edges really, really easily. And yeah, this deck, I should have remembered this when I did 31 Days of Tarot and talked about my sassiest and my gentlest decks. Because this has some serious sass. I totally could have mentioned this. This deck has so much personality, and this is, again, not my style of artwork that I normally gravitate to at all. There's lots of brains, but there are so many fantastic messages. It's fun to read. It's fantastic to read with around Halloween time, which is probably when I'll exclusively use it, but I could read with this at any time of year and get some really great messages. And if I ever was reading for somebody that I felt like this deck would just get them, I would pull it out in a heartbeat because I feel like there's just a lot of fantastic stuff here. I think I'm about 25 minutes in or so, so I'm going to do a couple more and then we'll move on to a second part so that these aren't too crazy long, but I'll have them in a playlist so that you can watch them. So Zombie Tarot, love it. We'll end part one on my original deck, my Osho Zen Tarot. This one is trimmed. I trimmed the sides and the top off and I edged it in black. This was one of my first trims. I used a small corner rounder on it. I may actually go back in with a larger corner rounder at some point, but I think I'm probably fine with it as it is. This was the very first tarot deck I ever read with, and it was perfect for me. I read the guidebook through once and then threw the guidebook away. This deck taught me how to read intuitively. It taught me a lot about myself. It grew with me. It will always be a deck that for any purpose, for any reason, I can just pull out and read with it and read really well. And for that reason, it's always got a special place in my heart. I have lots of decks that read well for me now that speak to me as much as this one does, but there's just something about this that will always be home. I did remove, there was a 79th card called the Master, which I removed and pitched from my deck a long time ago. It was just a picture of Osho and I did not need him in my deck at all. But I love this deck. Peggy made, it's one of my very first Peggy bags. Has this like really cute ladybug inside and it's velvet. Super cute. Special love. All right. That is it for part one of my tarot deck collection. If you're interested in the rest, make sure you watch part two. If you love tarot or you just are enjoying my content, remember to like, and if you are new here, to subscribe so you don't miss my other tarot and witchy and self-worth and magic related videos, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye-bye!